Hello everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tales Crafts, and today I'm going to be creating these two Slimline cards using the Fairy Botanical stamp set by Scrappy Tales. But first, I'm going to pick a winner from last Friday's showcase video. If you left a comment on that video, you are entered to win one of two $25 gift certificates to Scrappy Tales. So here are all the names from that video. Some of the names are listed more than once, and those were people that also commented on the sneak week videos. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the spinner. I hit spin. This is on my phone, so I just clicked it with my finger. And our first winner is Mary Plantains. Congratulations! You are going to receive one $25 gift certificate to Scrappy Tales. I'm going to go ahead and hit the spin button again for our second winner. And the winner is Alice Ross. Congratulations! I will reach out to both Mary and Alice after posting this video, and if you guys happen to be watching, you can also leave a comment. But yeah, I'll just message you guys, get your email address, and send that gift card over to both of you. So thanks to everyone who participated and watched the showcase video. There will be some more giveaways on Instagram next week, and there is a hop that's going on today that I will talk about. But first, let me show you guys all the supplies I'm going to be using for this video. I'm mainly going to use the Fairy Botanical 6x8 stamp set with the coordinating dies, as well as Everyday Borders 2, and then a couple Slimline dies by Cottage Cuts. So I actually took every image from Fairy Botanicals, and I'm just going to ink them up inside my Misty. I figured if I'm going to do all the images, I might as well stamp them all at once and get a good impression with my Misty. So I am stamping with Memento Tuxedo black ink. This is alcohol friendly, so I'm going to color these in with my Copic markers, and I really love how that turned out after it was stamped. While I have the Misty out, I'm going to also stamp out the sentiments for my two cards. So for my first one, I wanted to have the sentiment that says "Have a Magical Day" from the Fairy Sentiment 6x6 stamp set. And then for my second card, I'm going to say "You" or "Have a Totally Awesome Birthday," and that comes in the Fairy Botanicals stamp. I also white heat embossed that on black cardstock, but I'm just going to show you this sentiment. There is a coordinating die for this sentiment set, so I will cut the magical out with the coordinating die as well as the shadow, also from black cardstock, and then I'll hand cut the "Have a" and the "Day." So I do have my marker caps on screen. I'm not going to show you all of the images. However, the coloring does take up the majority of this video because the two cards really showcase the stamps, and I did want to include the coloring. Let me know if I maybe include too much of the coloring. I can cut it down even more, but I know when I watch videos, I prefer to watch people color. So just let me know. There is another mushroom in this set that'll obviously color off screen because I colored it the exact same way. So the way that I color is I always start with my darkest marker, and I wanted some more contrast, so I did bring in R59 kind of at the midway point and just went over the edges of the mushroom again with that color, and that's going to add much more contrast, and I love how that turned out. And then I go to my two midtones, which first is R29. I basically just extend that dark color out towards the center, and then I do the same thing with my R17, and then I leave a little bit of white space for my R14, which is my lightest marker. So I think it was only the mushroom where I did 4 colors. I think the rest of the flowers and the frogs I only used 3. For the base of the mushroom, I am using E15, E13, and E11, and for the dots on the mushroom, I use W2 and W0. I normally don't blend very much. I usually have to go over each marker only once. Sometimes if they're far apart, I might have to work a little bit harder to blend them, but the markers that I'm choosing today are very close in numerical order. So for the frogs, I'm using G99, G94, and YG13, I think, or YG03. The 03 is going to really brighten up the frogs because it is a yellow green, but I think the G99 and the G94 is a very natural frog green. So I really love that combo for frogs. For these leaves, I'm going with a dark green combination, which is G19 and G16. I will add another green combination for the lily pads and a couple of the flower stems and leaves. And I believe that combination was YG17, YG13, and YG03, I think. Here I'm showing you one of the yellow flowers, which I used Y18, Y13, and Y04. Felix has come to say hi. He loves taking my marker caps, so that is what he was trying to do there. I did zoom in a little bit for a couple of these flowers. So this is going to be like a dark pink combination. By the time I was finished coloring, I really love how this sheet looked. I didn't even want to cut them out. They look like a sticker sheet. But I ended up, of course, cutting them with the coordinating dies. So while I color, I do want to talk about the Instagram hop that Scrappy Tales is hosting. So if you don't have an Instagram account, I encourage you guys to make one. I've noticed that a lot of companies are kind of transitioning from blog and video hops and are moving to Instagram. Not entirely, because obviously blogs and videos are great and you can get more in-depth tutorials that way. But I noticed that a lot of companies are doing giveaways over there quite frequently and hops. So if you've been on the fence about it, I encourage you guys to make an account. You don't have to put your face out there. You can just share your cards. It's a pretty positive place. It's not like Facebook. And it's a great way of getting inspiration as well as connecting with other crafters. So yes, but I know that a lot of you already are on Instagram. So if you guys want to hop along, I'll leave a link in the video description, and it's an inspiration hop featuring all of the new products from Midsummer Night's Dream. These are the two cards I'm showcasing for the hop, but I also, of course, have a video tutorial because I pretty much film every card I make at this point. So yeah, head on over there. I will be giving away 2 $25 gift certificates, and I will also have stamp set giveaways next week on Instagram. So I think it's a great place if you want to follow crafters, stay up to speed with what they're doing, and of course, enter yourself into multiple giveaways. So anyway, we're moving on to this pink flower here, and this is one of my favorite pink combinations that I recently found. It's a very muted, natural pink, and it's RV34, RV32, and RV10. And I did leave a little bit of the white paper showing on this flower. I thought that was really pretty. And like I said, most of the time I don't go back in with my markers, but I wanted more contrast, so I just went back in with the RV34 just around the edges of the petals. And this stamp set my grandma helped me illustrate, so I did the the frogs and the mushrooms. And my grandma did all of these beautiful flowers, and you guys know her style is very friendly to beginner colorists because there's a lot of detail lines that tell you where you need to add your shading. So a lot of the flowers usually have shading right in the centers of the petals as well as the tips of the petals. So my coloring is all finished. I am in love with the color scheme here, so bright and fun. I'm just now going in with my white gel pen and adding some details. I don't normally do that. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but I felt like it would be fun for these whimsical style frogs and flowers. So for my first card, I wanted pattern paper, but I don't have any Slimline paper or 12 by 12 paper at the moment, so I had to go with my 6 by 6, and this happens to be Heartfelt Creations. I had two of the same papers, so I went ahead and cut it from my Slimline Stitch rectangle die, and I'm gonna end up connecting them like you see here. There is gonna be a visible line, but I plan on putting a lot of pearls over that to help hopefully distract it. Here I thought about trying to add a flower to hide the top of it, but it just kind of looks random just sitting above the sentiment. So I'm going to play around with these flowers and figure out an arrangement that I like, and I end up going with the left and right side. And I did end up using all of the flowers apart from the water lily. I just felt like it kind of looked odd with the lily pad underneath, so that was the only flower I excluded here. I really like this arrangement. I love those bright colors, and I didn't want to do much else. I felt like this was good enough. So I did cut out the have and the day just into some little rectangles. And that's all I'm going to do. I am going to show you how I glue everything down because I do pop some elements up. And the way I do that is I take the coordinating die and cut it out twice from heavyweight white cardstock. And I just glue them behind my colored die cut. And that's going to add some really great dimension, and it's going to be even all the way around. So for the flowers that are in the very forefront, I put 2 layers of die cuts behind, and the ones that are further back, I only add 1 layer. This way it's easier to, I guess, glue them on top of each other, and it just adds interest. I love when there's multiple levels of dimension on my cards. I'm going to do the same thing, obviously, to the right side. So I'm going to pop up the purple flower, this long one, with the 2 layers of die cuts, and then the 2 bottom flowers, I will only add 1 layer. I did end up trimming part of the flower off. And this is also very quick. You don't have to cut out itty bitty pieces of foam tape. So I really love doing this with my stamped images. I think this is what I'm going to be doing moving forward. So the magical, I'm going to glue the actual word die cut to the shadow flat with my art glitter glue, and then the shadow layer I'm going to pop up with 2 layers of that same die cut, which I cut from the heavyweight white cardstock. So that's what I'm doing here. I really love that the shadow die is included in the sentiment set. I think it really helps those words stand out. I'm going to add foam tape behind the have a and the day. But first I'm going to glue down my 2 pattern paper pieces to a white scallop stitched slimline rectangle. So I'll go ahead and glue down my sentiment and pop up the have a and the day. And then all I'm going to do is embellish with my pearls. And that's it. That was a pretty quick card. Obviously the coloring was the longest part, but the actual assembly of the card only took about 15 minutes. I am using my art glitter glue to attach these pearls. And then I'm going to mat this scallop piece onto a black mat that is 3.5 by 8.5. So that's going to cover my card base completely. Now you can see some of the flowers are overhanging. I just could not cut them off. You can if you want, but I have 4 by 9 envelopes, so I think it will still fit, hopefully. If not, I'll just hand deliver this card. So yeah, that is going to finish off the first card design. Now we're going to move on and work with those cute little frogs. I'm going to start by die cutting the everyday borders, and I think I use all 4 of them for this card. So I'm going to cut the clouds from that same Heartfelt Creations pattern paper, as well as part of the stitched rectangle I plan on using. That's going to be the sky, and the cloud piece is actually going to be the water for my frog, and you'll see how I use that in a second. I'm also going to cut the mushroom heads from red cardstock, the regular grass from light green, and then the mushroom grass from dark green. Now I want the stitching to be around my grasses, so I'm taking that same stitch die and I'm arranging my grass and my water and taping it down so that I can run it through my machine to get the stitching on the sides and the bottom. I just think that's a very finished look. I really like it. You don't have to do it. But here you can see how I plan on laying this out. Now you can see that butterfly is still showing, so I need a couple more layers of grass. So same process, I layered them together. I'm gonna take the die again and run it through. And then I know my big mushroom with the frog on it is gonna cover the rest of the butterfly, so I figured this was probably enough grass. I'm going to show you how I attach the mushroom heads to the mushroom grass. I cut that same grass from cream cardstock. You don't have to do this, but I do like when the stems of my mushrooms are a different color. So I'm cutting off all the stems here, and I'm going to glue those on top of the dark green stems. So this is definitely some detailed paper piecing here, but this is what I love about card making. Die cutting and paper piecing are definitely my favorite card making techniques, so I don't mind this process at all. Once the cream stems are attached, I'm going to add the mushroom heads on top. Now, if I were to do this again, I would first back my mushrooms with cream cardstock rather than cut little pieces like I'm doing here and gluing them behind. It ended up being fine, so if you want to do this, you can, but it might be easier to glue all the mushroom heads, cut them out, and then glue them to the stems. So here I'm trying my best to make the pieces small enough where I don't have to trim around them too much, but also big enough to cover all of the holes. So here you can see I will cut off the overhanging pieces, and that's it. I think these are super cute. I'm going to do the exact same thing to the other row of grass, and then we can go ahead and start to assemble our card. So I have this half die cut sky piece. I didn't need the whole thing because I know grass is going to go underneath. So if you have pattern paper that doesn't look like it's going to work, especially 6x6 on a slimline card, just try to work around it. A lot of the time you can hide seams. Like the first card I couldn't hide it very well, but this card you definitely cannot tell that it is partially cut at the bottom. So I am adding some foam tape. So for the water, which like I said is actually the cloud, I just flipped it upside down so it looks more like waves. I added 2 layers of foam tape to the water, 1 layer to the mushroom row, and then the light green grass I glued with art glitter glue as well as the second layer of mushrooms. So there is 3 levels of dimension on this card. I decided to cut off the middle mushrooms because I knew I was going to be gluing my frog mushroom on top, so I figured why not save those mushrooms and add them somewhere else on the card. I'm going to add 2 layers of the frog mushroom die cut. Here I decided to tuck in some more light green grass, and then I'll reposition this frog mushroom a little bit higher up just to fill the space in a little bit better. Again, cutting off the mushrooms that this is going to cover, and you'll see that I'll move them down a bit. I added the frog on the lily pad to the water. I just glued him down flat with art glitter glue. I will pop up this mushroom with 2 layers of die cuts. And then I have 1 frog at the very top, and he's going to go next to my sentiment. And then I have 2 of the die cut mushrooms that I'm going to add next to the lily pad frog. I love building out scenes like these. This is definitely my style of card making. I like to change it up sometimes, but these type of cards are definitely my guilty pleasure. I love creating elaborate scenes like these. And then here I'm just tucking in random mushrooms where I feel they look nice. Maybe I went a little bit overboard, but I think they're so cute I wanted to use all of them. All right, so now all I have to do is layer up this frog that's kind of sitting on a branch. I did 2 layers for him, and then I will just add my sentiment, which happened to be the perfect size. So I love when that kind of works out because sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to pop it up with foam tape. You can see that I did add my panel to another white scallop rectangle. I love how that finishes the card off nicely. And I am going to add a black mat to this scene as well. And then this will go on a 3.5 by 8.5 card base, and those will complete my 2 card designs. Let me know which one was your favorite. I love when I can take an entire stamp set and use every single image. This is such a cute set, and the design team has already started working with it, and they've made the cutest cards. If you want to see more using this stamp set, definitely head on over to the Instagram hop. I will have all the details listed below, as well as all of the products that I used. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to post much more frequently, and there's going to be another video coming out on Monday, so stay tuned for that. That is going to be the Fairy House add-on. Lots of requests for that, so yeah, I hope you have a wonderful day and weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye!